Muhammad could not have known these facts about human development in the 7th century because most of them were not discovered until the 20th century. This is a leech, and this is the human embryo about 23 days. I think you have to agree that the similarity between these structures is amazing.
The key word in both is al-ghaib. At this stage is known to no one except Allah.
The rapid growth and dramatic changes which occur after the bones have been clothed by muscles have been mentioned in the Holy Qur'an 1400 years ago.
Surah 79, Ayah 32 states, also in the context of creation, "And the mountains hath he firmly fixed." Similar mention of mountains is found in several other surahs. It is permissible to interpret this to imply that mountains are rooted and that modern geophysics has established deep crustal roots for the axial parts of mountain systems at converging plate boundaries. We need research into the history of early Middle Eastern oral traditions to know whether, in fact, such historical events have been reported. If there is no such record, it strengthens the belief that God transmitted through Muhammad bits of his knowledge that we have only discovered for ourselves in recent times.
1,400 years ago, when the world was immersed in darkness, the Qur'an was revealed, which brought light to a beleaguered world. And whereas the earlier books came with many scientific mistakes due to the hand of man having delved into them, the Qur'an had none of these contradictions. The world thought there could be no reconciliation between religion and science. But the Qur'an mentioned many scientific facts in great detail, like how a human being developed in the mother's womb, and described other scientific facts which amaze the world's renowned scientists and scientific community. Such was the impact of these revelations that the first Islamic medical conference was held at the Arab League building, Cairo, Egypt, on the 26th of September 1985.
The Qur'an on Embryology. Professor Keith Moore is one of the world's prominent scientists in the fields of anatomy and embryology, and is the author of the book entitled The Developing Human, which has been translated into 8 languages. The book is considered a scientific reference work and was chosen by the Special Committee in the United States as the best book authorized by one person. Dr. Keith Moore is the professor of anatomy and cell biology at the University of Toronto in Toronto, Canada. In 1984, he received the most distinguished award presented in the field of anatomy in Canada, the JCB Grant Award from the Canadian Association of Anatomists. He has directed many international associations such as the Canadian and American Association of Anatomists and the Council of the Union of Biological Sciences. Let's now listen to what Professor Keith Moore has to say about the revelations found in the Qur'an 1400 years ago, and what science has only recently been able to find out through detailed investigation.
In the 1940s, Professor Streeter of the Carnegie Institute of Embryology in Washington, D.C., proposed a system for classifying the stages of human development. His system arranged human embryos in 23 numbered stages based on their differences in appearance. The Carnegie system of classification was used around the world until the 1970s, when a more refined system was proposed by Dr. Ronan O'Reilly of the Carnegie Institute of Embryology, now in San Diego, California. Intensive studies of the Qur'an and Hadith in the last 4 years have revealed a system for classifying human embryos that is amazing, since it was recorded in the 7th century A.D. Although Aristotle, the founder of the science of embryology, realized that chick embryos developed in stages from his studies of hen's eggs in the 4th century B.C., he did not give any details about these stages. As far as it is known from the history of embryology, little was known about the staging and classification of human embryos until the 20th century. For this reason, the descriptions of the human embryo in the Qur'an cannot be based on scientific knowledge in the 7th century. The only reasonable conclusion is that these descriptions were revealed to Muhammad from God. He could not have known such details because he was an illiterate man with absolutely no scientific training. The first stage is Adafk, and you'll have to apologize for my pronunciation. This is from Surah Tariq 6. He is created from a drop emitted. This Arabic term refers to the forceful emission of fluids which occurs during ejaculation in the male and ovulation in the female. The male secretions, called semen, contain the spermatozoa, and the female secretions, called follicular fluid, contain the ovum. This is the stage of fertilization and the nutfa, and after this is what we call the zygote, referred to in the Qur'an as the nutfa, and the nutfa undergoes division, which we call cleavage, as it passes down the uterine tube. And so these are the stages of the nutfa here as it undergoes cell division. This term is used several times in the Qur'an when referring to the beginning of development. After examining all these references, it is concluded that nutfa refers to the small drop of fluid containing the sperm and the ovum. The term nutfa is also used to refer to the dividing zygote as it undergoes cleavage, cell division, and passes along the uterine tube to enter the uterus. This surah says, "Then he made his progeny from a quintessence of the nature of fluid despised." Sulala is an Arabic term, refers to the gentle extraction of the germ or sex cells from the millions that are produced. There are 300 to 500 million sperms in the ejaculate of a healthy young male. Only one of these is extracted from the semen to fertilize the ovum. This shows a photograph of the millions of sperm when they are ejaculated, and only one of these several million sperms is drawn out, which is what is suggested by the word sulala. Now, the same in the case of the ovary. Only one ovum reaches maturity and is expelled from the ovary, and it is extracted from the many thousands that are available in the ovary. Again, the idea of extraction, or sulala. The next stage is Amshaj, Surah Ad-Dar 2. Verily we created man from a mixture of a germinal drop. Amshaj, then, is an Arabic term, is used in the Quran to describe the mixing of the sperms and the ovum. During fertilization, the ovum rotates within the fluid containing the sperms until one of them is successful in penetrating its covering layers, which we call the corona radiata and the zona pellucida, which is this layer here. I'll read it again in English. It's Surah Abasa 19. He created a new individual from nutfa and immediately planned and programmed him. That was the first one we had. Oh, there it is. So al-Khalq then is an Arabic term which means coming into being, and is used when referring to the fertilized ovum or zygote. Here you can see the nuclei from the sperm and the ovum uniting to form a new cell, which is the zygote or nutfa, and then here's the zygote or nutfa again. It is just getting ready to divide into two cells, which we call the dividing zygote or the dividing nutfa. The next stage, al-Takdir, which is the same verse that was just repeated. This Arabic term means the determination of characters, and appears to refer to the fact that from the beginning the zygote or nutfa contains genetic factors in the chromosome. Contain the genes which determine the color of the future person's eyes, hair, and skin, and all its other characteristics, such as the appearance of the face